So, welcome everybody to another episode of Dream Big with Zhanna, inspiring you to reignite, refire, and refuel your life. And today's Monday, an unusual day for us, but it's worth it because my guest is an exceptional woman, beautiful human being, amazing soul, and a true professional in what she's doing. Her name is Hemla. And with your Hemla, thank you so much for being on the show. And I also, with your permission, would love to give a few lines from your official bio so that people can get the taste of what you do, who you are. Is that okay?
Sure. Thank you very much for having me on the show, Zhanna. I really appreciate that.
You are welcome. My pleasure. The pleasure is mine. So, Hemla Makindula, right?
You love.
Did
Very
I
good.
Okay,
It's
so
a mouthful.
I'm always careful with the last names, right? So Magandula, Hemla Magandula is a holistic facilitator and teacher based in Palo Alto, California. Hemla founded Seven Rays Holistic Center 16 years ago. Her work focuses on one simple statement: awaken the power within you. And that's the title of the program today. So stay tuned. Her intention is to listen and guide, uniquely blending various therapies to see from the inside out. Her intention is for each person to follow their own compasses and navigate through life. To be able to see within is to know yourself and bring out the best in you. Hemla overlays her passion for color therapy. This is super excited. We've never had a specialist in color therapy on the program yet. So we're going to dig into that just in a few minutes. And in all of the modalities she offers, this color therapy overlays everything. And this is really, truly beautiful. You can see a lot of colors behind her, right, as the background. This is fascinating. She was born in Durban, South Africa, and moved to California 7 years ago. Her background is as an artist and a teacher, and she's a mom to two teenage boys. So, welcome, welcome, welcome again. My personal flavor, because I experienced Hamler's work personally, I can say that I've done, well, as you know, on the program, I invite a lot of healers and light workers and owners of different kinds of businesses. This color therapy was new for me, but I would never even consider doing that if not for Hemla and her personality. She just shines, just like on the screen right now. You see, she's covered with this rays of light.
All planned.
That's what she is. She truly awakens the power in you. It's fascinating, guys. So, Hemla, question: what is your biggest vision for yourself? The program is called Dream Big.
Mhm.
So, what's your vision?
Well, the way I see it is partly to work more one-on-one with people, but then also to do more group-based work. I'm wanting to expand and do more meditation groups for people, some for women only, some for mixed men and women. I do family constellation work, and I'm wanting to do more group-based work there. And my vision, the reason it's called Seven Rays Holistic Center, is for it to be a fully fledged center in time with various therapists offering therapies and bringing meditation and yoga practices and all of those different modalities to complement, because I do believe that there's space for everything and it all works together.
Mhm.
So that's the vision behind it for time to come. But my immediate goal is to expand into more group-based work, both in the mornings and run evening ones for people that work and can't get here in the mornings as well.
And this is beautiful. So this is your vision as the business owner, right? To kind of expand and grow business wise. What are people getting out of meditation? That for somebody who is listening and they're completely new to this world, why is it so important for people to meditate, to do all this, the work that you do? Why is it so crucial?
Well, in my experience, and I started meditating, or I learned first when I was in my 20s. And the thing that I understood, and I wasn't disciplined enough to do it on a regular basis until just a couple of years ago, really. And that actually what inspired me to start my first meditation circle for women, which has been going for about 4 years now. And I also have a morning circle that I run. And I think that what I've understood in myself for meditation is it helps me feel more centered and grounded. It helps me feel more energized. It helps me feel more calm when things feel like, when everything's chaos all around and all the pieces are blowing up all around. The meditation is what helps me just stay centered and still. And there is nothing like that feeling. And it can be a simple, quick meditation. It doesn't have to be long. But personally, in the last 2 years, I now have a daily morning meditation practice. I wake up an hour beforehand and I meditate for an hour every morning because I feel unsettled if I don't have that. But I wasn't always that way. So it took me a while to get to this point. And I can't imagine now not having that. But a part of it is helping people learn to get to that point. Because you can't just suddenly go, okay, well, I'm going to meditate every morning. It just doesn't work that way. It's a discipline like everything else. So part of the meditation circles I run and visualizations that I do is to help guide people so that they can enjoy a practice of some sort.
I loved it how you said it once. I call myself the facilitator, not the counselor, not the mentor, not the coach. I facilitate it because you do all the work.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I just love that, and just the acknowledgement that this is how it works, because it's really that's what we do, right? You just help them to, as a guide, as a professional guide, and that was beautiful. What is the story? How did you start? How did you get into the color therapy? I love the color therapy piece to it. If you could just walk us through your journey.
Sure. So, I mean, my background is as a fine artist. So I was always interested in art or color from a very young age. And I collected crystals when I was 16, but I didn't understand the meaning of it. I was just drawn to them and the colors. And in my 20s, I began to explore it more deeply and go for sessions where bottles like these were used in sessions, but still didn't think about it as a profession of my own because I was a teacher at the time. And it was when my first son was born. He's now 18. So 18 years ago, he would wake up through the night screaming with his eyes closed. And he would do this 7 or 8 times through the night. And at that time, my husband and I were living in China, in Beijing, and I had no support structure. So he would travel a lot, and I had this baby who was screaming a lot, couldn't sleep, and myself. And I was at my wit's end. So I took him to see specialists, and 3 specialists said to me, there's nothing wrong. And that's both in South Africa, where we lived at the time, where we traveled, where we originally were from, and then in Beijing. And they said to me, there's nothing wrong with this baby. He just doesn't need that much sleep. And I just knew that there was something else. And I remembered my own experiences then of having gone for color therapy in my 20s and what a difference it made. And so I sought one of my first teachers who taught me the color therapy that I now practice, and took my son. And he once he started using those bottles of color, began sleeping through the night. And it was from screaming 6, 7 times through the night. He was now maybe waking up once and eventually settled down completely, but not screaming like that with his eyes closed. And I knew that there was something in it, and I knew that I could help other children as well as adults. And so my journey actually began because of my son, that I actually went and studied it then and decided that I wanted to practice and help other children and parents who are going through this, because I understand how stressful that is. And that was 18 years ago.
Yes. So you did experience color therapy on yourself before?
Oh, yes, many, many times throughout my 20s. So I'd say a good 7-8 years that I did it before I then, left and went to live in China. So, and I found it hugely helpful for guidance, for direction, for knowing what it is in myself that I was wanting to shift or change or grow with. So that's what it does. It helps you find the tools that you need to be able to do the changes and shifts that you need in your own life.
I was fascinated by this. By first of all, how many shades of different colors there are
So,
out
yeah, we
there.
have 66, actually 67 now. There's 67 bottles of color. And from there, when you come in for a session, as you know, you choose 5 that are, you choose with your left hand because that's your intuitive feminine aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really what we're speaking to is the internal intuitive self that the body then expresses via the colors, the bottles of color. And inside of them is pure essential oil, crystal infused water. They've all made saying sacred mantras, Sanskrit mantras that I use for that. And yeah, so pure essential oils and colors. Yeah.
So it's the high vibrational bottles, right? That are. Could you explain a little bit? So just throw a little bit of light around that. Each color represents or is responsible for a different chakra, or how does that work? Could you just tell people who are completely new to this?
Sure.
Yeah, it was new to me too. So I'm really like,
Well, you fill in wherever you're feeling like I haven't given enough information. Since I've been doing this for so long, I kind of feel like there's an idea of
everybody knows it, right?
so yes, it works with the 7 major chakras, but I also work with some of the minor chakras. So altogether, I work with 9 chakras. So the bottles, you might think, well, there should only be 9 bottles, but there's shades to every color. So, for example, there's 3 reds and there's 3 oranges, 3 blues, etc. And each of the bottle has its own information about what's going on in our bodies. So, for example, if you chose, and I'm just giving you just a simple
Yeah.
basic example.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you chose blues in your reading. Then the blues would indicate something along the lines of the blues, the communication center, it's also your creative center. And so it might be all colors have negative and positive. So it could be that you're suppressing what you're feeling, wanting to say, instead of saying it, we're holding it in or swallowing it down. And the positive, it could be that you're a great communicator and you want to do more of it. So every bottle, when chosen, is in context with all the other bottles that are with it. So bottles also go into past lives where we've been, because I do believe that a lot of our patterns we carry through from previous lifetimes into current. And those patterns are often unknown or sit in our unconscious. And then we find that we, for example, drawn to the same kind of person all the time, and let's say those relationships don't work, or we drawn into the same health problem. Like you may think, well, I've had this all along. What's going on? So all of these different factors, we look into past lives and go, well, what is that connection between now and that before, and how can we use that and be able to shift it into something more positive, grow from that experience. It also then highlights positives. For example, maybe you, if the bottle is wanting you to acknowledge or embrace your own power, which is awaken the power within you. So if you chose all yellows and golds, maybe it is on the positive side of that. How do you awaken that power within yourself? So there's, and then of course in the negative, it might be that you're shying away from or afraid of that power. So each of the bottles has very specific information. And it also goes into some of our angels, our masters, our guides, our spirit guides. So the bottles have all been channeled for using that guidance as well. So I always say that I didn't create them. They were sent through me. And I believe that the information that's come through was not anything I felt or believed, but rather what was guided. I also work with crystal children, star children, and indigo children. and I have special channels, bottles for those as well. And they connect very deeply with the ones that are then relevant to them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
I'm
fun.
not sure if I answered your question, but
Yes, 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 absolutely. And I'm sure if you guys have those who are listening right now or in replay or on YouTube, ask, connect with Hemla if you have specific questions, or if you would like to experience that. That's what I would recommend rather than talking about it. Then you can connect with her through the website. That's the easiest way to do it. It's Seven Rays, so www.7raysholisticCenter.com. And
and
she
the
has
number 7.
what?
And
Seven,
it's the
the
number 7.
number. It's yeah, it's the number seven. And it's gonna be below this video in the comments on Facebook Hummingbird Academy Today page. And it's gonna be on the description in on the YouTube channel, right? So please connect with Hemla if you have specific questions about yourself or your children. But right now, what I had another question in mind. So this is a little bit of the color therapy. What could you say the modalities that you are trained in and what's the whole spectrum? Could you just name them?
Okay, you want me to name them all. So, color therapy, of course, I do crystal healing, chakra balancing. I'm a Reiki master. I do a little bit of numerology incorporated into everything I do, family constellations. And then I do something called quantum energetics, which was created by a South African chiropractor, because we know that our body holds memory. And from what I've been taught by him, when I did that training, is to be able to tap into the body using the principles of kinesiology and EFT, emotional freedom technique. And we tap into the body to see what the body holds in its cellular memory, and then the body then releases through this therapy, which is really powerful as well. So that's another one of the therapies that I do. And I do regression, so into current life, earlier on, or past life regression.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's
I
a lot.
I teach people how to awaken their own intuition. So I teach courses on that. I teach courses in color therapy, past life regression, crystal healing.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
and I run
That
work.
that is fascinating. How do you choose when a person comes to you? Let's say it's one-on-one work. How do you choose which tool you're gonna pull out of your? I don't usually use the word tool. It's more for man. Like I usually picture the construction worker, right? Like what's the tool out of your toolbox? For women, I think, well, this is just my thing. I want something elegant, it's like jams out of your treasure chest. So what's the
That sounds
jam?
beautiful. I love it.
So, how do you know which jam to pull and what piece is going to be suitable for this specific person and not that one? Why this person needs regression, let's say, and the other one straight like color therapy or something else?
Sure. So for me, my relationships with each of the people that come to me become very connected and personal, as I'm sure you can imagine. So the first 15 minutes to half an hour is spent connecting with and understanding where that person is at. And I listen a lot to what they're telling me about what they're feeling, where they're at. Maybe someone comes in and says, I'm going through some kind of career change and I need some guidance, or I need to know what to do next. I'm a bit lost, or, I'm torn between two choices or something. And so I listen to what they're saying, and a lot of it is following my own intuition and also theirs. So they come in and they say, I don't really know what I want. I make suggestions and we go with what feels right. Sometimes people come in with very clear ideas of what they want, and we go with what they feel. And part of what I offer to my clients is to taste or to try each of the gems. Because sometimes you think that this ruby is going to be wonderful for you, but you might find that the emerald is even better. So I feel as though I like to expose people to all of the different things, which is why I have so many, and I'm still growing and learning. Like I have some knowledge on the Enneagram, and I'm busy studying that even further. For me, life is all about that. And so I want to be able to offer then to whoever comes what would be tailor-made for them in that time. So each session is extremely unique to what that person needs in that moment. We don't often preset things either. So if I'm seeing someone on a weekly basis, let's say, then I say to them, well, let's just see what you need when you come in. The only things I preset is the time. For example, for a family constellation takes 2 hours, but I need to factor that time in. And or if I'm doing any of the other therapies, they're about an hour, and your first time is an hour and a half. So I kind of set the time up accordingly, and we work with whatever they need at the time. Sometimes I just do what my clients call spiritual counseling, and that it just varies because if people sometimes need just to come and sit and talk, that's what we do, and so each session is extremely different from the other.
Yeah, yes. Well, thank you. Two questions. I'm like full of there's so much. I just feel like I can't get enough of you. And the first one, let's see if I can remember both my questions. So first of all, what's your definition? What is your definition of intuition? How do you define it for yourself? Because there are so many out there. And the second one, I'll just give the two, and you can start with whatever feels better for you. What are your personal values?
Okay, so let's start with what I believe intuition is.
Mm-hmm.
So my belief about intuition is when I can listen from within myself to what my body, my gut, my knowingness is telling me. It is if I so most people listen to their heads, and there's nothing wrong with that because we need our heads to balance everything out. So our logical aspect is extremely important. But the part that is deeper, that we don't always listen to as carefully because we're so busy reasoning everything out from our heads, is the thing that we should be listening to. So I always tell people, when you meet someone, you have this gut feeling straight away. That is our intuition speaking to us and saying, hey, that person's a good person, or stay away from that person, or so follow it, because sometimes we start speaking to that person, we go, oh, that person seems nice, but our gut at the beginning told us to hold the brakes. So or for example, if you're in the car and you're driving and there's two routes to get home, you might want to normally turn left, but something in you says to you, turn right today. And I feel that that is your intuition speaking. So maybe when you turn right, you might have avoided a huge accident or pile up on the highway, or maybe you yourself could have been involved in something, but your intuition said to you, turn right, because that would be better for you. And so intuition for me is a very deep listening in. And a lot of people will say to me, well, I don't really know. How do you define one from the other? And that is where I teach the Awaken Your Intuition course, which is teaching you to awaken to your own intuition. And as children, we have it. But in time, what we get told is stop imagining things. That's just crazy. That's all in your mind. And what happens is children start to shut it down. If only that didn't happen, our intuitions would be so much sharper than it is currently for most of us.
Yeah,
So it's just reawakening what we already have. Therefore, there's no really magic formula. It's really within yourself and listening in. But sometimes we need to be shown what the ways are to get there, and that's as simple as it is.
and I love it because, well, the today's conversation is called "Awaken the Power Within You." That's your words, right? And it really means awaken your intuition. And to me, from what you just said, for you guys, it's also we're so trained to think, and we are disconnected from the feelings most of the times. And so Hemla is saying that actually is teaching us how to connect with your feelings and trust the feelings as much and even more than we trust our heads and judgments and logic and all of that we are so capable of. We're doing it all day long.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you so much. So values, what are your personal values?
That's a very good question because I have so many, and it's really hard to kind of talk about them all. But my one of my largest or hugest one is integrity. I'd like to be able to think that I bring in integrity into all of what I do and the way that I am and the things I say and do. And my intention is that when I am drawn to people and people are drawn to me, that we share that same value. So integrity, yeah, I think that for me is one of the largest or most powerful ones.
Mhm.
Um, Trust, that element is really important. Um, yeah, I have to think about that in more detail. But
Yeah.
uh, there's so many that they are kind of all overwhelming me at the moment. But yeah, I think the integrity is a huge part of it.
Yeah. And thank you so much. And it just happens to be the fact that the value. I mean, integrity is one of my core values too.
Yeah. Well, of course.
No wonder. No wonder. Yes. It's so important. Do you have a story before? There's a few things before we kind of start wrapping up. Do you have a story? I call it the impossible story. Something that you, for some reason, it doesn't matter when it happened to you, whether you were a little kid or a few years ago, maybe 2 days ago. It doesn't matter. But something that you believed would never ever happen to you, or you would never ever do that or would be capable of doing, and yet it happened. Do you have something like that? It's sort of like the manifestation when you're super connected. That's what I'm really asking about. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the whole journey starting in color therapy, for example, because that was one of my first modalities I ever studied. But I mean, like I said, I had gone for sessions. I thought it was wonderful, but I had no need or want to study it in any way. And eventually, when I did study it, I still didn't think that I would one day create my own range of bottles. Because initially, when I studied it, I would, with my mentor, use what she had. And when my second son was born, so I believe that both my children are very pivotal in my work. So my second son was born 2 months prematurely,
Mhm.
and I would use the color therapy on him to help him because he was in the NICU for the first 3 weeks of his life. And the nurses thought I was totally nuts because I would bring all these colored bottles and colored sheets in to help him. So, like, for example, I brought orange to deal with the shock and trauma of his birth because he was an
Mhm.
emergency Caesar. And they like looked at me and told me I was mad. And they had all these uh, monitors linked up to him to regulate his heart rate because he was so little. And the nurses eventually would call me and say to me, "Oh, so he was in this orange cloth for the first few days." And then they called me and they said, "Wow, the orange cloth helped to calm the heart rate." And
Oh.
then on the third or fourth day, I forget now, because now he's 14. On the third or fourth day, it shot up, and they were like, "What do we do?" And I said, "Take the orange cloth off and put him on a blue cloth." And immediately his heart rate lowered. And they said to me at the end of it, "I think that there's something to what you're doing and what you're offering. And maybe we should think about introducing some of these colors into the NICU." And of course, I said that would be a wonderful idea. And sure, if it helped other parents and other children, I was happy to help them. I think they were a little bit scared of my techniques.
Yeah.
but but at the same time, if you ask me what is that one story that really shifted my belief, well, that is because I had just created my own range of bottles just after he was born. And I worked especially with children who've been through major trauma, who have struggled with anxiety, sleep disorders, and all of that. And I don't think I would have had the inspiration or the belief or the courage. That's the word I would want. Courage to be able to do any of that had it not been for them.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So
True.
yeah, it's really been a journey since because I started making my first bottles in 2003, but was too afraid to put it out there. And so when my clients would come, I would use my bottles for my mentor, but none of mine. And it was only in 2004 when he was just after he was born that I created the full range that you see behind me. and began to use them. And people would come back and say to me, wow, this really helped with this, it helped with sleep or anxiety or any of that. So yeah, they're my inspiration.
This is an incredible, impossible story that gave me chills. Like I was listening to your chills on my body. So thank you for sharing that. Is there anything that we can, maybe you can do very quickly, a couple of minutes, something from the wide range of what you do, something that can shift our state of mind right now, or just to experience or get the taste of your work? It could be a
Absolutely.
short meditation. It could be,
Yes, I can do that. I can do a little meditation. Would you like me to do that?
absolutely, yeah, just a few minutes. And if you guys are listening and watching out there, so just listen for Hemla's directions. So we're ready.
Okay. So close your eyes and just take a deep breath in. And then I want you to hold your breath for as long as you can. And then very slowly exhale. You take your next breath. Imagine that your nostrils and your mouth filling with golden light. This golden light makes you feel stronger, clearer. If there's any fear or tension in your body, feel that golden light, releasing it. Feel that light move into your stomach area, often where we feel our anxiety. Just feel that this liquid golden light is filling into that part and relaxing your body. And I want you to become aware of the sound of your breath. As you breathe in, the sound that it makes is soar. And as you breathe out, the sound it makes is hum. And again, soar, hum. As you continue now with natural, even breathing, simply listen to the sound of your own breath as you breathe in and out. And then very slowly become aware of where you are and then open your eyes.
Mm. It, it was so beautiful. We have some sort of sound effect on the video, right? And it sounds like the waves. I don't know if it's if it's with you, or I think
I
probably.
can hear it.
Yeah, you can hear it now. Yes, but it worked perfectly fine with what you were saying, and the video
Okay, good.
just weaved it in, and it's just a mad. I mean, really strikes me how little we need to get to that state of connection. Really, that's what meditation does for me. It's
Yes,
alignment with God or source, or however you want to call it.
absolutely.
But for, yeah, different things for different people, but it's really coming back to who you truly are. And you did it. Thank you so much. I really, yeah, thank you. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
So we would love to hear from you guys how it worked for you, and you can re-listen and redo it at your own time later, again and again and again, and you can repeat it, and it just brings you whoops back into the state where you're connected to you. Really, thank you, Hamla. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a great one to use if ever you're feeling uh, stressed out or something's like unnerved you or It's a very simple meditation.
Very simple, and I bet it really works really well even in the middle of the day.
Yes.
If somebody is in the office in the corporate world,
Yeah.
right? You get and you just have a few minutes to relax, or something stressful happened. Use this. Just it's just like a magic jam that you just pulled out of your
There
treasure
we
chest. Thinking about jams, before we part today, before we close, I always ask everybody, what is this one gem or two, up to you, but at least one out of your treasure chest that you would like to share? It could be some words of wisdom, maybe a favorite book that you would like to recommend. You just share this wonderful visualization meditation, anything to inspire all the listeners and the viewers.
Wow, there's so many. Well, one of my favorite books that I've read recently is by Thich Nhat Hanh, and it's called The Art of Transforming Suffering. And what I love about his book is that he says that, and I'm probably butchering. It's not a quote, but what he says is that it's muddy water that creates the most beautiful lotuses. And if we think of ourselves like that, we all have all kinds of stuff going on in our lives, difficult things and things that create stress in our bodies. But yet, it is all of that that helps us grow and become these beautiful lotuses.
Mhm.
And I love that, and I wish I had had that quote. But I have another one from him that I have two quotes that I'd love to share. Both for me are understanding and accepting that all human beings are the same and equal no matter what. And the one that I love is by him: My actions are my only true belonging. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground upon which I stand.
I love
And
that.
then the last quote, which is one of my favorite poets, is Rumi. And this is my one quote that I love. Well, I have loved all of his, but this one particularly: Out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field, and I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in the grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. And that's one of my favorite quotes.
I love it. Thank you so much. Rumi happens to be my favorite poet too.
Why am I not surprised?
And may I share one? Just because you mentioned his name, one I love that one for sure. And there is another one that I absolutely love. It says, "When your soul is looking for you, light up the candle."
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it.
It's like we're talking about all of that is so beautiful, and thank you so much for sharing this time, wisdom, and just your being and beingness with us
Thank
today
you.
on the show. You guys are watching Dream Big with Zhanna, inspiring you to reignite, reply, and refuel your life. And today our guest was the amazing, beautiful, um, very, what's the core value that you mentioned? It's that
Integrity.
integrity. And you can see you can see that whatever you see on the screen is what you're going to get in real life. Trust me on that. But better yet, just reach out and talk to Hemla. And you can do it easily or through her website, Seven Rays. Seven is the digit, so it's no, you don't spell it out, it's just the number. So Seven Rays Holistic Center.com. You can also, if you have specific questions for her, it's okay to PM her on Facebook, right? Private message. But really, go to the website and you will find all this like rays of information about what she does, who she is, and also comment below the video here and on YouTube. If you go to Zhanna Spitz and you put Dream Big with Zhanna Hemla, you will see this video there, and you can comment, ask, share. We would love to hear from you. And stay tuned because we're gonna see. Hopefully, we're gonna see Hemla at another time, and we will, that's my hope, experience her in real time, like her actions, speaking about actions, Hera, speaking about actions, like what she does and the taste of what how she works with a client in real time. So stay tuned, and bye for now. Just bye and enjoy the rest of your day. Hemla, thank you so
Thank you.
much.